What is Headroom and how much headroom do we actually need coming out of a mix session? First off, Headroom is taking a look at the decibel level on our master stereo out. It's specifically taking a look at the difference between our loudest peaks in volume on our master stereo out and 0 decibels. Do we have room? Is it at 0, or maybe it's even clipping? Maybe it's going past 0. The way that you usually find out how much headroom you have is go to the loudest section of your song, play it through, and then take a look and see where the loudest peaks are actually maxing out. So let's take a look. So in this case, it looks like this track is peaking at about negative 7.15 decibels. So that's a good range to be in. Usually the sweet spot is between negative 6 to negative 9 decibels. The next question then becomes, why do we need between negative 6 to negative 9 decibels of headroom when we're exporting our mix to send to a mastering engineer? Well, mastering tools need a little bit of room to work. The mastering engineer is likely going to be using additive EQ, and that's going to add volume to your mix. They're likely going to use compression as well and limiting, and especially with like analog emulations of gear, or maybe they have actual analog compressors and limiters. The character of those compressors and limiters only come out when you're able to turn them up. And if the stereo is overblown or we don't have enough headroom to do this, then we're not going to be able to use the tools to their full extent, right, and their best capabilities. So by sending a mix that has between negative 6 to negative 9 decibels of headroom, you're really just giving the mastering engineer the best opportunity possible to make your song sound as good as it can. Now, if you find that you don't have enough headroom, or that your stereo out is maybe even clipping, that usually points to potential issues in the actual mix. So the first thing I would do is go back to your mix and take a look and see if any of the individual channels are clipping, or maybe that there's pieces of gear or processing that's clipping. If your master stereo out is overblown, then that can introduce unwanted distortion. And I say unwanted because in some cases, distortion sounds great and it's what we're going for. It can really bring sounds to life. But in the case of like digital distortion, that almost always sounds bad and introduces artifacts that you probably don't want in your song. If you're too loud, just highlight all of your channels and reduce the volume collectively so that you're between that negative 6 and negative 9 range. That way you kind of keep the mix and the volume levels between all your channels. And then bouncing it out at that negative 6 to negative 9 to send to the mastering engineer will allow them the opportunity to make your song sound as good as it possibly can.